Hey there, welcome back to Tennille Talks, y'all. I'm feeling better, but sounding better. Last time I told you I was feeling good, but I just didn't sound good. I'm kind of like I'm there, like I'm kind of back now. So this reading in front of me, I actually pulled it on Thursday, okay? I have 5 cards in front of me. I'm using my Dante's Inferno deck. I'm using Jungian Psychology or a tarot deck that has like 25 different archetypes that a human can be wearing at any given time. And I've got my handmade deck. So 5 cards, but on the top card is my handmade card, and it literally says harvest. This is a harvest that you yourself are going to experience. This harvest has come to you after you have overcame obstacles. You are in a season of reward and benefit. I got really excited when the harvest card came out because we are in harvest season, and I feel like this reading is in alignment with collectively we are all going through and walking through right now in our life. So this is like current real time. So the harvest comes to you now. If I had to describe you in this reading, I would say that you are the son of the new world. When I say son, I'm saying S-U-N. You are the son of the new world. Why am I saying that? The tarot card that comes out is the 7 of Coins, 7 of Pentacles. In the Divine Tarot deck, every one of those cards is going to tell you some type of ancient mythology story from around the world. The story that is attached to the 7 of Pentacles is about Aztec mythology. So we're rooted in Mexico. I'm going to tell you the story very briefly. This is why I'm describing you as the son of the new world, because of the 7 of Pentacles. When the 7 of Pentacles is standing upright, this means that there is reward, but the reward only comes after perseverance. If you're a farmer, the day you put the seed in the ground is not the day that you're going to see your corn grow. Like, you got to wait this thing out. And you also have to return every day in order to nurture something, right? And so whatever the reward is that comes to you in this season, this may have been a long time coming. This is a reward after you displayed perseverance. The decisions that you made are the reason why this is coming to fruition. The way you invested your mind, your soul, your time, and your energy is what is bringing this to you and for you right now in this season. When the 7 of Coins is in reverse, because y'all, everybody is not going to experience a harvest season. This is not really for everybody. So if you know you put that work in, well, then this is your reading. When the 7 of Coins is in reverse, this means that, listen, yes, you did put the seed in the ground, but if you don't have a harvest to look forward to, were you short-sighted? Were you lazy? Did you procrastinate? Is the reason why you experience a setback or a delay because of how you delayed your time, because of how you delayed your own efforts. And so now the harvest that comes to you is pretty much nothing, right? And so I'm talking to those that are the son of the new world. This is your harvest season. This is your season of reward, benefits. All of your investments are going to come back to you. Now, the story attached to this, I'm going to just shorten their names, not out of disrespect, but just my inability to kind of pronounce them properly. There are 2 gods in this story. I'm going to call one Nan and one Tech. Now, this is about the creation of the sun and the moon. This is what is attached to your harvest, okay? So, to begin, we'll talk about the age of the suns. In the Aztec world, they had already tried to create humanity 4 times. Each of the times that they tried to create humanity, it was destroyed by some type of catastrophe. So in this season, all the gods get together and they're like, all right, we got to create a 5th sun. You cannot have humanity without the sun. So if they create the sun, they can have humanity. They're like, fine, the last 4 suns were destroyed. We got to create a new sun. This is our 5th attempt. All the gods get together and they decide, you know what? For this sun, the requirement to create this new world, sacrifice is needed. So there were 2 gods who were chosen. They were chosen to sacrifice themselves by leaping into a great fire in order to become the sun. These gods become the sun, humanity, the new world, the 5th world can be born. The 2 gods that were selected, as I said, were Tech and Nan. Now, Tech is described as a god that was wealthy, strong, and noble. This is the god that was chosen to become the sun. The other god is Nan. This one is described as being poor ill, humble, and covered in sores. Another text read that it's almost like having chicken pox. For those of us that are old enough to know what that experience was like, I don't know if chicken pox came back yet, but for those had chicken pox, imagine that one of these gods is poor, they're diseased, but they're covered in sores, they're covered in chicken pox. So the moment comes when these two are supposed to be jumping in the fire. One god displays hesitation, one god displays courage. Tech, the wealthy, strong, and noble god, fails to leap in the fire out of fear, even after multiple attempts. Y'all know when you watch videos, or maybe you yourself are about to do something that is extremely high risk, and you almost got to talk yourself into it, like, okay, I can do it. I got the, you know what I mean? And this god, although, like, if everybody were to place their bets on one of the two gods, everybody would have put their money on Tech. But when the time came to leap into the fire, Tech was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm afraid. I can't, right? But then you got the other god. He's poor, weak, ill, sick, looking nasty and weak, but humble. This is the god on the first leap, despite the illness, right? But they possess the humble nature, bravely jumps into the fire, showing immense courage. Y'all, the next part of the story, I kind of laughed a little because we're talking about the creation of the sun, but also the moon. And so all the other gods are watching these two gods make their attempt to kind of leap into this fire to create the fifth sun. Well, Tech is so ashamed of himself because of his lack of courage. Not only did you not jump, but like all these other gods are watching you like be a punk, like not really, you're not doing this thing, but you look like you would have wealthy, strong, humble, and not humble, but noble. Like this is the god that you just knew was going to jump with their eyes closed. No, Tech was scared. And so at the same time that Nan jumped into the fire, now all of a sudden Tech wants to jump in the fire right after him, but he had already shown his lack of courage, already shown the fact that he did not have bravery because of how he hesitated. And so when it's his turn to follow Nan in the fire, another god throws a rabbit at him. And it says that when the other god hit him with a rabbit in order to like kind of laugh or clown him a little bit, he ended up becoming the moon. And the story says to this day, the moon still bears the impression of the rabbit. You know, somebody hit you in the head with something and it leaves you a mark. Well, apparently the moon is a god who has the imprint of a rabbit because it was hitting it because it was a punk, because it didn't have what it needed to become the sun. Y'all, that is the story that is attached to the Seven of Pentacles. But something about that story talks about you, right? Because we're talking about after a harvest, or no, the harvest can only come to you after an obstacle. So whatever gave you those sores, whatever in life made you poor or ill, it didn't take away your humility. For some of you, it can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be mental. Whatever it is that made you look like you weren't the one to become the fifth son, it wasn't enough to stop you from becoming the fifth son. And whoever was against you, maybe there was just one person who thought that they were better or more equipped, or other people chose them to be the one. This person just could not get it done. Anyway, we now live in and under the fifth sun because of Nan, right? So something about that can connect to you personally. The harvest season comes after you being overlooked, after odds being against you, after you kind of having to show yourself even against those who are aesthetically, physically, financially, whatever. They just seem more equipped. But when it comes down to the time to leap in the fire, it was you who went first. It was you who had courage. That is why your harvest is now. That is why this season is going to be a season of reward and benefit for you. Now I'm going to go a little further. The card that comes out in Jungian, in the Jungian archetypes, and like the way I understand this is, at any given time, a human is wearing a mask. And in this deck, this says you have 25 masks that you can be wearing at any given time. And these masks aren't really about being superficial, but it's about human nature, human behavior, and all of the ways that humanity can exist. All of those codes lie in the collective unconscious. The archetype that comes out in this reading says the Father. So literally, I'm talking about masculinity. Now, I hope I don't mess this up. Y'all can totally help me out. The archetype of the father, typically, no matter where you are in the world, when you think about a father, the energies that you attach are going to be law, discipline, authority, love, and protection. No matter what country I live in, we all kind of generally share the same idea of what a father in the upright should be. The message attached to this father says, the master who envies the pupil is a bad mentor. Y'all, so you may have had a father in your life or a masculine energy in your life that should have been a master to you. Not master over you, but master to you, meaning like they're older, they're wiser, they know more, they've acquired more. Like this person had all of the things that were necessary in order to guide, love, protect, and mentor you. But because of your potential, because of what this person saw in you, because of what this person knew you could become, this person almost envied you. They were jealous of what was in you. And so they decided, you know what? I'm not going to develop you. I'm actually going to give you less. Y'all, but listen, we're talking about the 7 of coins. This is an investment. And so you may have been purposely given less by somebody who had a lot more. And the reason why you were given less is because this person recognized that you would become greater than them. But every true mentor and every true master should want their pupil to rise higher, because that's a reflection of what you delivered, what you put inside of them. Not that you want to take credit for their greatness, but if you can, why wouldn't you grow? Why wouldn't you develop that person? So you're getting this investment. We talked about this coming after you overcoming obstacles. Y'all, this is anybody in your life, and we could be talking about a masculine energy. The way a masculine showed up in your life, it means that this person really wanted to keep their foot on your neck. That person could have been tech. Remember, we said one God was wealthy, strong, and noble. This person could have all of the things. And here you are, poor and ill, covered in chicken pox, right? But you got more courage than this person will ever have. And so your harvest has come after seasons and cycles of lack, but it was intentional. Okay, now I'm going to go a little further. What does it mean when you have a master that is envying their pupil? What does it mean to have a master who is a bad mentor? A true teacher's success is measured by the student's progress, and any jealousy reveals a profound insecurity and flawed character. Some of you have had masculine figures in your life with flawed character who intentionally cut you off, cut you short, or moved against you in order to make sure that you don't progress. Because if you progress, this person will become envious. They'd become jealous. Y'all, this can be, this because it says father, this is really talking about the divine masculine energy that lives inside of you. It was intentionally underdeveloped. Because if y'all, you know, last year around December, I don't know if I said this on a video, but I said it a few times to people that I was speaking to connected to this channel. I said that inside of myself last December, I felt like daddy's home. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like something like the archetype of the father. I mean, there was the father that I knew in my life. But then there was the father that I knew existed that I never would personally experience. And although that I never experienced that type of father, it was alive in me. I don't know how to explain it, but I said last year, I feel like daddy's home. Right now, I knew I would. Let me just give you an example of my relationship with my father. I got to be delicate. I really don't talk about this that much just because of because of many things, okay? So I've had a stepfather that I've talked about who was abusive in many ways, but then I have a biological father. This is the father that I moved in with when I was like 11 or 12, after speaking a truth about what was happening in my mother's home with my stepfather, right? So let me just give you a story about my father. I feel like in my life growing up, I was the keeper of my father's secrets. And I didn't choose that position, but I was put in that position. I made a joke, and this joke could still be true today, and I know it is. At the same time, my father had a wife, a girlfriend, several, and a baby mother, like literally at the same time. And all of these women were aware of each other. Now, growing up, my friends, my teachers, my coaches, anybody that interacted with me, naturally, you would also interact and know my father. Everybody loved my father. And if there's one person that I could compare or describe him to based on like the general consensus of the people that met him through me, they would all say your father looks like Denzel Washington, right? So handsome man, intellectual, funny, like just everything that a masculine, like, you know what I mean? Just like all of the things that people would kind of go or lust after or be drawn towards. Like my father possessed that, right? So I remember, I'm divorced now, but I was 10 weeks pregnant, and 3 weeks after marriage, I conceived. So I'm 10 weeks pregnant, new in my marriage, new pregnant, all of the things. I'm living in Florida, and my father wants to come and visit me and my new husband in Florida in order to kind of just celebrate our new marriage. Our baby's on the way, like, you know. So he was going to host a get together in Florida, but it was going to be at his longtime friend's house who lived in South Florida. Now, I had met this woman many times, okay? A lot of my father's girlfriends I have met many times. I've only known my father to be married to my stepmother. So all of these girlfriends are happening at the same time that this marriage is taking place. I guess I should tell this story. The first time I knew of my father's infidelity, it was, I grew up in DC. My stepmother and I were going to a fashion show in DC. And it was raining really hard. I remember my dad had a white Grand Jeep Cherokee. She says, Tennille, go in the back and get the umbrella. I go in the back to get the umbrella, and there is a gold, it's a Magnum. It's a Magnum condom wrapper. So it's open. The condom's not there, right? And so I remember finding that, and I'm probably like 15, 14. Like, I'm not old at all. If I'm still going out with her, I'm not that old, because at some point I was too occupied with sports, too busy to really do shit with her, right? So I had to be like between, 13 and 14. 15, something like that. So, and just what I felt inside of me. So that was the first secret. He was not there. She's in the front of the car. I'm in the back. That was my first secret. And what do? I don't have a relationship with her that's really strong or built on anything. My first night living in their home, she told me she felt uncomfortable. I knew how she felt about me. So like, you know how sometimes if somebody doesn't like you, but you bring them a truth, they're not going to hear the truth because it's coming from you. And so something inside of me, even being young, I knew that like I couldn't really tell her what I knew. And the reality is I moved in at 11 or 12. You already knew what was happening. Like, she had to know. I'm not saying that every single woman knows, but every single woman knows, whether you honor it or not. Like, so I kept a secret, but I almost felt like it was a secret that she had already been keeping. And so the worst thing I could do was to tell her, right? Like, I just knew that. So that was my first secret. And I did not tell my father until years later that I found that. So anyway, at some point, apparently I'm old enough to meet the women that he's in relationships with. I used to go to my father's office all the time after school before I really picked up heavy in sports. And so, like he's a businessman. I've already described him based on how people described him as Denzel, whatever. I remember sometimes I would have like summer jobs or summer gigs, and some of the women that I was doing like projects for, these were actually women that he was intimate with. And once I got old enough, like once he kind of trusted my ability to like not say shit, but to like still like be a good daughter, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it was never told, nobody ever had to tell me not to say anything. You know what I'm saying? There was no kind of coaching or conditioning. It was just something that you just don't say anything. Anyway, some of the women that I would meet, I didn't know until later in life that these were women that he had relationships with, y'all. And I'm his daughter. And so I don't understand at the time how this is fucking with my own psyche and how this is going to manifest in my relationships with men. But also at some point in my life, 10 to 12 years, I dated exclusively women, right? And so however that, you know what I mean? So all of this is making me when I show up in a relationship with either a man or a woman. But I don't know this. I don't know how these things are happening. Another thing is, so he comes to Florida, right? And the woman's house that we are going to celebrate my new marriage and the soon to be birth of my first child with my husband. That woman, I met her several times. They went to college together. When we get to the house, it is not just her house. She is from the Bahamas, beautiful woman. And we enter the house and there's a white man in the house, y'all. And it's her husband. I never knew this woman was married. And so inside of myself, like I never wanted to have a marriage like either of my parents. I didn't want to have the type of marriage like my mother was in, for obvious reasons, but I also didn't want to have the marriage that my biological father had, right? Now, aesthetically on the outside, you may have described us as like low-key the Huxtables. Like it looked like that, right? But on the inside, the secrets, like the things that I knew that I didn't speak about until years later right? So anyway, we go to this woman's house and I am blown away. Y'all, I just feel like, yo, she's married too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, couldn't believe it. And we're there with her and her husband, and she's got friends that she invited over to celebrate. My father had me when he was in college, so anybody that he's dealt with, I pretty much, whether I lived with him or not, like, he had a daughter and it was me. So y'all, I'm just trying to describe to you the type of father that I had in my life. And I feel like the way my father showed up as a masculine, even if I'm really basing this on the master who envies the pupil is a bad mentor. The way my father displayed his masculinity is what taught or conditioned or developed the masculinity in me. And so I started to think about a corner store versus like a Costco or a Sam's Club. For those not in this country, America, those are bulk stores where it's a massive store. You have a variety of things, but if you really love it, you can buy it in bulk. Everything comes in bulk. And so for this next part of the reading, I want you to think about the conscious and the subconscious or the unconscious mind. My father, the way he displayed masculinity in men and relationships in life, he gave me a corner store version, a very cheap version. Now, in the collective of consciousness, in the unconscious, the collective unconscious, sorry, y'all. In that part of the human psyche, there are many ways to be a man. There are many ways to be a father. There are many ways to be a husband. I never experienced that by way of my father, but then also in my relationships, typically the men that I was dating, those were the men that I was conscious of based on the men in my life. So I kept dating corner store men because I was only conscious of corner store type of experiences. The corner store, you can only get a little bit of shit. Maybe they have 3 to 5 in stock. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's slim pickings. It's slim pickings. And so I think that growing up, the way masculinity was presented to me, it really determined how I would groom or grow or develop in my own masculinity. I remember last year, December, I don't know if I said this on a video, but I said it to somebody that I was speaking to through this channel. I remember saying, yo, like, I feel like daddy's home, like inside of me, like daddy's home. Like I met the father, the true archetype of what a father is, because it manifested in me. And I felt that last December. And what I'm saying is if a father represents law, discipline, authority, love, and protection, the first time I ever really felt that type of masculine energy is when I merged with my own masculine almost a year ago. I had never experienced that in any relationship with a male, family, boyfriend, nothing. But obviously doing the work behind the scenes, I was able to tap in. I was able to cross the bridge from the corner store to Costco. So you know how sometimes people make a comment, all women this, all men that, every man that. Those are corner store type of psyches. You're only saying all and every one because you've only had a very limited version. You're only conscious of one type of experience with a man or with a woman. And so you're going to think that I can only date corner store people. I can only have corner store type of relationships because you are only conscious of that. But all of a sudden, you cross this bridge and you realize that, yo, there's Costco out here. There's Sam's Club. There's BJ's. Like, you recognize that there are versions of masculinity that even if you personally have not experienced, they exist. It just has never been displayed in front of you. You weren't groomed or grown by this type of masculine. And so for a period of my life, I felt like I kept attracting and living and behaving in a certain kind of way that gave me a corner store type of experience. But when I did the work on the inside, essentially when I become my own mentor, when I become my own master, and when I start to develop aspects of myself, I get to awaken and groom and grow a masculine energy. And now guess what? The corner store man can still come to me. But if I've developed a masculine energy in me, I'm like, no, you don't fit. Right? Like now I can be my daddy and I can protect myself. I can love myself. I can discipline myself to recognize, no, that person is not for you. Their energy is not right. They're dishonest, right? They're not loyal. Now it's like I have the ability to choose because of what I've consciously awakened in myself. Is this making sense, y'all? And so the mentor, the people that keep their foot on your neck and don't want you to grow and don't want you to develop, they don't want you to ever cross that bridge that takes you from the conscious to the unconscious. Because then you go from the corner store life, the corner store relationships and experiences, and all of a sudden you're at Costco and Sam's Club. And so this is what we're saying about the mentor, the bad mentor. There are some people in your life who maybe consciously or unconsciously, they purposely don't want to develop an aspect of you because of how great you'll become. Am I making sense? And so the same two energies, the story about the gods and you receiving a harvest. Y'all, there's a version of a man that exists inside of me that my father will never become in this life. He was never able to display it. He couldn't show it to himself. He couldn't show it to me. He couldn't show it to his other children. You know what I mean? Like, and so we either become him or we develop ourselves. Or we cut ourselves off from relationships entirely. Emotionally, we're like, I'm not dating anybody. I'm not married. You know, we just assume that this is the only way. Or you just go and you do the work. So this reading says that there may have been a prominent masculine figure in your life that had a profound insecurity when they were standing next to you. You're the type of person that jumps into the fire and becomes the sun. This is the person that wants to look like they are the sun. They want to look like they'll jump in the fire. But when the time is really there, when the moment has arrived, even though you are poor, ill, and covered in chickenpox, you still have something in you that they don't have. And maybe for some of you, they recognized that there was something in you that they didn't have, and they felt some kind of way. And so what do you do when you have a child? What do you do when you have somebody that you were supposed to lead or preside over, and they're bigger and better and greater than you, even at a young age? This reading says that, listen, a good mentor is going to want their mentee to surpass them. But a bad one is going to feel threatened by the student's rising talent and potential. One of the things that my father celebrated, and I got to talk about myself, y'all. One of the things that my father celebrated or thought was really cool about me are the seasons in my life where my relationship behaviors mimicked his. Here's an example. This is obviously before I was married, but I never really lived back home in the DMV as an adult until I was in separation, soon to divorce from my husband. So I hadn't been back home in a long time. So anytime I saw my father is because he visited me. I lived in Bluffton, South Carolina. I lived in Florida, many places in Florida. I lived in few cities in North Carolina. Every time my father came to visit me, he always had a woman, not always the same woman, and sometimes the same trip would have two different women. Like one woman would stay, let's say he's there for a week. One woman would be there for 3 days. She'd fly out. The next woman would finish the trip for the remaining 4. Shit like that. So I was in my dating women. I was dating women. And so we would double date, y'all. Like we would double date. We'd go to concerts. We go to shows. We did like an Airbnb houseboat. He had his girlfriend. I had mine. And I wasn't really, loyalty and monogamy was important to me, even dating a woman, right? But the type of women that I was dating was very similar to the type of man that my father was, whether she was more masculine. And typically I was dating women that were kind of masculine presenting. But then towards the end, some of them were like a little more feminine, like we could share clothes and do makeup together. So that was towards the end of me dating same sex. And I don't feel no kind of way about that era. Like, listen, I've had a good time. And wherever you are in your life, whatever your choices are, I'm just saying, I'm just telling my story, y'all. So, oh, God. I remember one of the final times that my father came to Florida to visit me. He had a girlfriend with him. She was probably my least favorite. She was like, a lot of them were my least favorite, but she was just my least favorite. I just didn't connect with her. Like I connected with the other ones. Y'all, I've had conversations with the other ones, like therapeutic conversations. Like literally, some of them like to ask me questions. Is he talking to this person? Is he dating this person? Is he having sex? Now I'm essentially and I don't break bro code, okay? Like I'm a wingman, not really because I want to be, but I'm also not gonna, I don't tell. I do not tell, okay? So anyway, one of the times he comes to me, I am living with, I'm roommates with a girl that I was, we were messing around, but we were roommates. And the girl that I left in order to be in this next relationship is over at our place. Now, in this era, I was, this is a little bit of mayhem and lawlessness, but I would only become this type of female, or I would only become that version of myself after some type of disrespect happened in a relationship. So what I mean is I'm going to show up to the relationship loyal, honest, committed, and true. But when you show me corner store type of behavior, I know exactly how to go. Listen, I've watched the corner store unfold my entire life. You know what I mean? So if somebody does something or cheats or lies or something, no problem. I knew exactly how to do. Okay, if you open that door, that is a door I know very well. So he comes to visit me and he's like, what do you got, some kind of harem? He was so proud of me just because literally we were all hanging out. And X that kind of wanted to be with me still. Obviously, she's sleeping over, like trying to get the relationship back together. But in order to visit me, you got to come over to this house where I am with this, we're already like that kind of thing. He was so proud. And literally like accused me in a very celebratory way of like having a harem. But I say this to say that like when it would be impossible for me to have a healthy marriage. It would be impossible for me to have a whole family and to really include my father. At some point, I recognize that. You know what I'm saying? In order for me to be the best woman, the best wife, the best mother, the best human, I don't want to be a keeper of secrets. But I also don't want to, right? And up until probably this day, I know more about him than a lot of people. And it was a position that I was just kind of put into, right? I don't know why. I never really understood it, how it impacted me. But like at some point, I recognized that there was a version of a masculine that I never met. And we would normally assign our father a type of role, an archetype that we would like them to play. I didn't see it and I didn't experience. And it wasn't until me separating from my father and really like cutting off the connection for reasons worse than what I've described, right? Like, but this is giving me the energy of, what did they say? The bad mentor is going to feel threatened. I almost feel like the love and the companionship that I was able to experience in my life, somehow that threatened my father. Somehow, I don't know why I don't know, y'all. I don't know where I'm going. I didn't know we was going to have a whole therapy session. So if you're still here, you're still here. Thank you. But you know what I'm saying? I don't know what I'm saying, but I do, but I don't have the words. So this reading is saying that, listen, an insecure mentor's envy, it can manifest in several destructive ways. And so for those of you that had a corner store father, what I'm going to describe, or if that's the type of masculine you experienced, what I'm going to describe is going to tell you. So withholding knowledge to stunt your growth, that would be a behavior of somebody with a flawed character, somebody who's insecure and who can't stand to see you progress. They don't tell you things that you need to know in order to grow. So remember at the beginning, the 7 of Pentacles is about harvest. You're experiencing a harvest, but nobody taught you how to take care of a seed. Nobody taught you how to sow any fucking thing, but yet the harvest is here. Discovering independence for fear you'll outgrow them. So this is somebody who doesn't want you to be independent. They want you to be codependent. And so I'm not going to grow or develop or teach you certain things because I don't ever want you to go off and to become this great thing that I can no longer, hold. You can become so big that people don't even know how to contain you anymore. Next thing, taking credit for the students' successes as their own. Y'all, I didn't know until my ex-husband revealed to me that my father was jealous of me. I had no fucking idea that this man is jealous of me. I never would have known that. And obviously my ex-husband, low-key, in moments displayed his jealousy or envy, right? But my thing was, I'm on your team. Like I'm your whole wife. You know, like you have me. You don't have to, you have me. Lastly, undermining success, criticize, gossip, or belittle. And so, y'all, there is an energy that you had to get past in order to experience this harvest. It says the Father, which directly takes me to that experience. And I know that there is a version of a masculine in me that I had to overcome in order to become the greatest version of myself. Meaning, in order to experience wholeness, you got to have a pure form of masculine and a pure form of feminine energy in order to merge those two together. And so a lot of us have to repair the relationship with our mother without her. We have to do it within. We have to recognize that our mother was just a corner store version of what a mother could be. Our father is just a corner store version of what a father could be. And when you do the work, you know, a lot of parents, the really good parents, they have built the bridge for you to the collective unconscious. They have revealed, even in their flaws, they will say, I am flawed, but this is the type of man you should want. This is the type of woman you know what I mean? But then some parents are jealous. They don't want to see your love. They don't want to see your relationships. They don't want to see you with anybody that is better or bigger than them. And in order for you to get an experience that they can never get, you yourself have to be or become something that they can never become. And some families, some parents, some positions that are above you don't want you to do that. This story, this reading is giving me a long time coming. This harvest, the seed that could have been planted, we're talking about you receiving something that could have taken a lifetime to unfold and to unpack internally. All right, y'all, I'm going to get off of this thing. So I'm saying that you are the son of the new world. You may have had to overcome somebody who was in a position of law, discipline, authority, love, and protection. You may have never experienced that. And so whatever you experienced is what you continue to project and manifest. And then essentially you do some type of work, you build your bridge, you recognize there is another version of this energy that I can tap into. There is another archetype. There is a whole archetype of what the father means, of what masculinity means. Y'all, I think this card, the father card, connects to something called the anima or the animus. Correct me at any point if I'm wrong. But the anima talks about how when a father is raising a son, what the father is showing the son is the type of femininity that a masculine should develop and grow inside of themselves. Like masculines have a feminine energy that they need to grow and develop. And their father is going to reveal to them how to carry and possess that energy in a pure, wholesome way. And so as a female, when I look at my father, his masculine energy is teaching me how to grow and develop my masculine energy. And whatever type of masculine energy I am carrying, that is going to be how I manifest my relationship with masculines. So I literally had to outgrow the version of masculinity that had been deposited or shown or displayed in front of me in order to get to a wholesome version of self. Right? And I had to cross the unconscious. I had to go to Sam's Club. I couldn't keep relying on what I saw in the corner store versions of my life and think that that was enough to reach wholesomeness. I couldn't be healed if that's all I knew. And so that is the point of this work. It is to be able to build a bridge that somebody refused to build for you. Some people didn't build this bridge because they were jealous of you. They were envious of you. They didn't want to see you grow to your full potential. Your success would have killed them. Right? And so you build this bridge on your own, and now you can tap into more than you've ever seen, than you've ever experienced. But this is you consciously choosing to go somewhere, to experience, to have something that you've never witnessed before. That is a choice you make. And when you make that choice again and again every day, that is you building a bridge. And you built that bridge so well that your harvest is here. And whatever you had to overcome, whatever you had to fight, whatever you had to endure, that was a reflection of possibly somebody that refused to give you something, refused to teach or grow or develop you. But that was an intentional thing. It was an intentional way to keep their foot on your neck. Some of you may have had to overcome the energy of a father, of a masculine. Right? And so the version of you that your father most appreciated or developed, like that version of you, could have been based on a weakness in them, an insecurity in them, a flaw in them. All right, y'all. I love you so much. Happy Monday. Talk to you soon. Y'all, oh my God, I just recognized I had to come back to this reading. It's 44 minutes long, and I didn't even talk about two of the cards. So here's the thing. We talked about the Father for a very long time. The next card I have is spiritual cleansing. This talks about an imbalance, stuck energy, heaviness that possibly could be environmental. You have had to spiritually cleanse the energy of the Father or that type of masculine archetype in order to experience and overcome obstacles for this harvest to make its way to you. Finally, I didn't even talk about the Dante's Infernal card. Y'all, okay, listen. In the Dante's Inferno deck, we have the Hound of the Underworld. And so this is the region of hell where gluttons are punished. One of the reasons why you may have been underdeveloped, or one of the reasons why you may have been suppressed, is because a masculine carries the energy of being gluttonous. We're talking about extreme greed. Now, in this level of hell, we know Dante's Inferno, it has like 9 levels of hell, right? Gluttons are punished in this level of hell. In order to get in, you have to pass a guard dog. The name of this guard dog is Surpassed. Surpassed is a monstrous 3-headed beast. This is the guardian of the 3rd circle. Surpassed torments gluttons. He mauls, he tears, and he bites at their souls. For those that live in the 3rd circle of hell, the conditions or the environment are described as you suffering in filthiness. It's cold, it's muddy, it's like a swamp. On the 3rd level of hell, there is a constant downpour of freezing rain, hail, and sleet. Now, Surpassed, the guard dog, that terrorizes all of the gluttonous and greedy souls, that guard dog has to stop the living from entering, and he also has to stop the dead from leaving. And so when Dante and Virgil, they have like 1 day to walk through hell, right? And so Surpassed won't let them in. And so the symbolism of this is that in order for Dante and Virgil to make it past Surpassed, they pick up a handful of earth and they throw it. And remember, I said Surpassed has 3 heads. They throw it into each of Surpass's heads. So this is saying that there is no difference between a beast and a sinner when you get to hell. Everybody on the 3rd level was gluttonous. Surpassed is this type of beast with 3 heads. One represents the physical body, one represents the mind, the other represents the soul. When we don't feed our body, our mind, and our soul properly, we begin to neglect it. When we neglect aspects of self, we develop a craving. This craving is what leads to extreme greed and gluttony. Okay? And so this reading is saying that you had to experience souls that were gluttonous and greedy. Then you had to spiritually cleanse yourself of them in order to remove the unstuck energy, in order to remove the heaviness and the imbalance. And the type of heaviness and the imbalance could have been attached to the father archetype or the masculine energy. This is about the masculine energy that you have to integrate in order to become whole. It could have taken decades to do this. So you had to make it past the greedy and the glutton. I talked about the mentor not wanting to develop you. Developing you in someone's mind meant less for them. And so if I, whether this is a boyfriend, a father, an uncle, somebody, but this is about male energy, never wanting to offer you true wholeness because they can't bear to see you become whole, because in your wholeness, you become the son of the new world. And so in their own psyche, in order to deal with their own insecurities, you are given less. This could have just been a trend that you personally experienced with masculine energy. So you had to make it past the hound of the underworld. You had to make it past Surpassed. Inside of all of us is a greedy beast, right? A 3-headed beast. And that beast is needing us to feed our physical body, our mind, and our soul. When we neglect ourselves, we become gluttonous. Gluttonous people are the type of masculine energies that you could have faced again and again and again. And the only reason why you were experiencing your harvest is because you were courageous enough to conquer that beast within you, right? You were the God that jumped in the fire. Sometimes people aesthetically carry all of the energetic makings of what a true masculine is, but in their core, they really just got a beast that they haven't fed. So they have cravings, they've got insecurities, they've got flaws, they package it well, but the way they show up in a relationship, the way they treat you, the way they honor you, no matter what title they have, is a true reflection of how well they have tamed that beast within. People who don't want to give you all of you, people who don't want to give you your flowers, whether they're family, friends, or people that you've been intimate with, these are people who feel like if I give you something, I am going to lose, but they've already lost. Do you understand what I'm saying? They've already lost because they're living in greed because they have such a deep craving, but the craving has escaped their own consciousness. But subconsciously, the craving is calling and calling and calling. And the way they treat you is based on their subconscious cravings. The greed, the gluttony, the cheating, the lying, the whatever it is that you have dealt with in masculine energies that you have had to overcome. All right, y'all, I'm about to add this to the video. I literally forgot 2 cards. All right, I love you. Bye.